Hamas says at least 20 people have been killed and roughly 150 detained in a raid at Gaza's largest hospital. Israeli Defense Forces say the operation at Al-Shifa is likely to last for several days. This comes after a phone call between President Biden and Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, during which the prime minister agreed to send a delegation to Washington to discuss a potential operation in Gaza's southern city of Rafah. Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman has the latest from Tel Aviv, Israel. Matt?
Hey, Diane, just a day after his call with President Biden, Netanyahu today, Israel's prime minister, doubling down on Israel's intent to launch that offensive into Rafah. That's the southern Gaza city where 1.5 million Palestinians have been seeking shelter. Many of them have already been displaced multiple times. Now, the White House has made it quite clear that they don't want Israel to launch this offensive at all. They want Israel to try to get at the last 4 or 5 remaining battalions that Israel believes to be hunkered down in Rafah in some other way, and of course to get at Hamas's leaders there, including its head in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar. Israeli officials telling me there's no way they're not going to launch this offensive. The question is how they do that. And to that end, they are sending a delegation to Washington, as discussed by President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, to hear out Washington's ideas about an alternative route to an offensive and, of course, to dealing with the major humanitarian concerns. Israel right now says it will somehow move about 1.4 million Palestinians to humanitarian enclaves, providing them food, shelter, water, hospitals. It's unclear how they will make that happen or when. The timing of this is also unclear. It does not seem that this offensive is going to be launched anytime in the next few days, possibly even weeks. Diane.
Matt Gutman in Tel Aviv, thank you. And ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers joins me now for more on this. Karen, President Biden and Netanyahu spoke yesterday for the first time in over a month, and Netanyahu agreed to send this delegation to Washington for talks in the coming days. Why did the White House make that request?
Diane, yesterday we heard the strongest public opposition we have heard so far from the White House to this possible Israeli military operation into Gaza. The National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan was blunt. He said a major ground operation by the Israelis would be a mistake because of the risk of civilian deaths and worsening the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And Sullivan said that they have asked for those senior Israeli officials to come to Washington to have that conversation about what he called a better way to do this. He said that phrase several times, that there is a better way. He said the key goals that Israel wants to achieve in Rafah can be done by other means, and that they still support the goal of defeating Hamas, but they want to present the Israelis and discuss with them the other options that they could do. Now, Sullivan did not get into the specifics about what those options could be. They want to have that conversation with the Israelis. And Diane, Jake Sullivan also said it is the expectation of the White House that the Israelis would not launch any operation until that conversation here at the White House takes place.
So was this phone call the come to Jesus moment that Biden said he would be having with Netanyahu?
Jake Sullivan said yesterday that the president pushed Netanyahu on whether the Israelis have a coherent and sustainable strategy to defeat Hamas. Now, remember, that come to Jesus moment was picked up on a hot mic from the president after the State of the Union. He said he had told Netanyahu that they had to have that kind of conversation. I asked Jake Sullivan yesterday, was that conversation yesterday the come to Jesus moment? Jake Sullivan said he would not characterize the conversation, but notably, he did not say no. He said he will let reporters there yesterday draw their own conclusions. Diane.
And Karen, in the meantime, is there any more information on the conversations between the White House and the Israeli government about this potential invasion in Rafah?
You know, they want to have that conversation here at the White House before any going forward by the Israelis with that operation. As Jake said yesterday, they fully expect that the Israelis would not launch anything until the White House is able to present what they called the better way forward.
All right, White House correspondent Karen Travers, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.